ॐ विश्वं दर्पणदृश्यमाननगरी तुल्यन्निजान्तर्गतं पश्यन्नात्मनि मायया बहिरिवोद्भूतं यथा निद्रया यस्साक्षात् कुरुते प्रबोधसमये स्वात्मानमेवाद्वयं तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये बीजस्यान्तरिवाङ्कुरो जगदिदं प्राङ्निर्विकल्पं पुनः मायाकल्पितदेशकालकलना वैचित्र्यचित्रीकृतं मायावीव विजृम्भयत्यपि महायोगी वयस्वेच्छया तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ So we'll be starting a text called Tattva Bodha. And the source book of as such the self-knowledge is generally called Upanishad. But before entering into Upanishad, the subject matter of the Upanishad has been dealt separately by the Acharyas in a text called Prakaranam. The definition of Prakaranam is Shastra Ekadesha Sambaddham Shastra Karyantare Sthitam. Shastra is like Bhagavad Gita is called Shastra, in which entire subject matter of the Vedanta has been discussed. Like first is who is a qualified person, one thing. Then how to become qualified. How to become qualified means as much as what kind of a qualifications are looked upon by the scriptures are not there, which is considered impurity in the mind. So those impurities should be removed. Then what are the disciplines for that? What are the sadhana means for that? So then that has to be also described in a shastra called Karma Yoga. Then not only that impurities will go, other things are also there. Mind keeps on wandering without having any kind of likes and dislikes towards the objects. It just wanders. And therefore, one should have a focused mind. For that also some discipline has to be described. That also will be described in the Shastra. Then, then once you are qualified now, then what to do? How to gain knowledge? Then you should approach a teacher. How to approach a teacher? That also has to be told. And a proper teacher means what? That also has to be told, like Shrotriyam, Brahmanishtam, etc. So this has to be told. Then the process of Jnanam, in which Shravanam, the listening the scriptures, etc. Ascertaining the purport of the scriptures has to be ascertained. Then you have to dwell upon the teaching, in which you will have certain doubts. You have to resolve that. And even after resolving all the doubts, your judgment about yourself is one, and Shastra's judgment about you is different. Shastra says self is like this, you say no, I am like this. So then you have to assimilate the Shastra's teaching in terms of nididhyasana, etc. So you become one with what Shastra says about you. So your judgment and Shastra's judgments become one. Well, then Shastra says you are free and you also experience the freedom. That's how you attain the mukti. So all these things has to be described. And then not only that, who is a wise person, who is free, a liberated person, who is enjoying the freedom, how he is, etc. That also has to be described, like Sthita Prajna has been described. And then whether he has to again born or not for doing all these things, I mean, to get again getting qualification and all, it's a long process. So again, should he have to pass through? No, 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 no. Because the purpose of the human life, he has attained, and therefore he should not be given again the body. And therefore called Videha Mukti, means once he leaves this body, he will not be born again. All these things where it is discussed is called Shastra, scripture. Bhagavad Gita falls into that category. The difference between the Prakaranam and Shastram is this, that Prakaranam discusses some of the topics of the Shastra. Shastra Ekadesha Sabbhaddham. It is connected to the Shastra Ekadesha. Means some of the topics has been discussed. And Shastra Karyantare Sthitam. Yet, what is the purport of the Shastra? That has to be the purport of the Prakaranam also. So that way, these two are the characteristic of a Prakaranam. Now, so far as Tattva Bodha is concerned, it falls short of the one definition, in as much as Tattva Bodha does not discuss the certain aspect of the Shastram, certain subject matter of the Shastram, it discusses everything. So we will have to, that's how Tattva Bodha is considered very important. There are other Prakarana Granthas also. Atma Bodha is a Prakarana Grantham, Vivek Chudamani is a Prakarana Grantham, Upadesha Sahasri is a Prakarana Grantham, Panchadashi is a Prakarana Grantham. All Acharyas have made this kind of Prakaranams in order to reveal the subject matter of the Vedanta, but they give an emphasis to a particular aspect of the subject matter. Well, in Tattva Bodha everything has been discussed. That's a very beautiful thing. So it serves a purpose of the scripture in its own way. Second thing is that what's the difference between, why are you starting with Tattva Bodha? Also this kind of question is there. Why can't another Prakarana Grantha? Like Atma Bodha discusses also, Vivek Chudamani discusses many aspects. Vivek Chudamani in fact discusses everything of the Shastra. Then instead of Tattva Bodha, can I study Vivek Chudamani or not? Certainly not. Because in as much as the magnification of the Tattva Bodha is a Vivek Chudamani. So before you go into a much details, better you learn what are the things are totally available in the Vedanta Shastra. So that way, Vedanta Tattva Bodha and Vivek Chudamani, I should choose Tattva Bodha. Between Tattva Bodha and Atma Bodha, what should I select? Definitely Tattva Bodha, because in Atma Bodha, even though the principles of Vedanta have been definitely derived beautifully, established with example. In every verse of Atma Bodha, you will find an example. So, like to establish Karya-Karana relation, we definitely give example. Atma Bodha give example. Then there are other aspects also. I mean, all the aspects of Vedanta are there, but still, with the example they are there. But yet, the qualification to gain this knowledge has not been much discussed there. The way here it has been discussed, and without qualification, knowing the qualification, I would not strive for getting those qualifications, and therefore between Tattva Bodha and Atma Bodha, one should select Tattva Bodha also. And this is how we are going to start this. And as I told you, it's a book of definitions, unfolding the whole Vedanta. And Pujya Swamiji used to start any long-term course first with the Tattva Bodha. It's a big story how he came across this Tattva Bodha. And you can see in the Swamiji's book it is there. So I don't go into that. But anyway, he came across and then he liked this book while teaching to somebody, some Swami. And then he thought this is the best book to start with. So in every course he used to start with this particular book. And so we also study, even though it is called for beginners, but I am telling you it is not for beginners. Really, in as much as many times we study Upanishads and everything, and the Acharya has to mention the name of Maya, etc. And that Maya remains Maya only, because it remains, we don't understand. After study of many years also we don't understand. After study of many years we don't understand the word Mithya, really speaking. Mithya means people think it is something non-existent thing. So the world when it becomes mithya for me, it will become non-existent. Then what will I do, Swamiji? Because I will be alone in this whole, like in a desert or something. Somebody asked me like that. Several years of study. So it's better to study all these aspects very clearly which is in the Tattva Bodha, very well defined. Not just mentioned, very well defined everything. Now we'll go to the title, Tattva Bodha. The Tattva Bodha indicates, the title indicates the subject matter. Like, the quantum physics is a title of the book. And its content, the subject matter, is quantum physics. Indian history. Swamiji used to give this example. Indian history, the book name. Well, the title is Indian history. What is the content? Indian history. So here also title is Tattva Bodha. What's the content? Tattva Bodha. So what is Tattva Bodha? So Bodha means the knowledge. And Tattva means the essence. The truth. Essence or truth of what? Essence or truth of everything. Everything means what? Divide into three categories. One is the individual, right? One is the individual, other is this world, and third is the Ishvara. There are three things: Jiva, Jagat, Ishvara. So the essence of the three is one. The truth of the three is just one. I mean, that is how in reality, if all the three are one alone, then I can say I am the reality of the creation. Or the creation is, in its essence, is the reality of me, etc. So there is no as such divisions. In as much as there are three things we call, but essentially if it is one, definitely the divisions are superficial. That's what it means. And therefore, if divisions are superficial, I feel the limitations perhaps may be superficial. Maybe. It is superficial. Then if limitation may be superficial, then I'm limitless? Yeah, it is. You are limitless. You are non-dual. The duality is at the level of, at a surface. What is the duality exist? Like individual, then the world, and Ishvara. What the duality appears there, that duality seems to be at the superficial level. I am essentially a limitless being. Then am I feeling the limitations? What about that? That could be superficial. We have to check everything, but this I am just putting into what is Tattva Bodha means. The knowledge of oneness between these three things. Knowledge of oneness or knowledge of truth, knowledge of essence is just one thing alone. And therefore, the sense of limitation which centered on the self, which is not true. No, it is not true so far as in the eye of scriptures. So if I don't have any limitations, if I am free from the limitations, then well, I'm enjoying the freedom. That freedom is called moksha. So the non-duality is, if you reach to the non-duality, or if you know the non-duality, basically, non-duality between me, the world, and Ishvara, definitely you also become free because you are also non-dual, and therefore you will be free from the limitations of which you are feeling. So that is called moksha. But so then freedom everyone wants. Everyone wants just a freedom. Nobody wants anything in the world. Everyone wants just a freedom, basically. That's called moksha. Freedom from what? Freedom from what I don't want. That's all. Not freedom from I want. Then I won't study. Because if it makes me free from what I want, then I don't want to study. Freedom from what I don't want. Freedom from sorrow I don't want. Freedom from fear I don't want. Freedom from limitations I don't want. Freedom from lack I don't want. Freedom from uneasiness. We are going to see that. Freedom from uneasiness centered on the self. That's a human problem, basically. It's a human problem. So that will make me freedom from this knowledge will make me free from uneasiness. Freedom from discomfort. So all this I don't want. Freedom from the death of fear. Yeah, you will become free. Are you promising? Yeah, we are promising. Shastra and Acharyas are promising this, of course. And that becomes a reality for a qualified person, definitely. So this is wonderful then. But as we open just a book and start reading, and we get headache, because in talk it looks good, but when we start and we approach the scriptures, we find very difficult. And the word mithya appears there, word maya appears there, word satyam appears, and we are not able to understand. The word paramatma or brahma appears there, we are not able to understand. So we always feel, and we have joined some class perhaps, let's assume that way. We have joined some class and people are studying and enjoying and appreciating, and when teacher says something they are nodding the heads also, like this, and I am seeing at them and I create a prejudice for me. Yeah, why I am not able to understand everything? Maybe perhaps Vedanta may be very difficult for me. It seems that after 2-3 class, Vedanta to which I went, I have gone for removing the fear, starts intimidating me. It starts intimidating. Therefore, Acharyas have thought over well, and they thought instead of the person enters directly into Upanishad, let him give some book which will define things very beautifully, which any person can understand. By studying, person will feel that, yeah, I am also along with other students in the understanding the Shastra, and therefore this Tattva Bodha has a very, very significance in this. Now looking at the content of the Tattva Bodha, then you will find the first thing is the qualifications for gaining the knowledge. That's one topic in this. Then and each qualification has been defined, like vivekaha, vairagyam, etc. Everything, titiksha, everything has been clearly defined here. This is one. Then second thing is understanding the reality, satyam and mithya, which will come very initially itself, fortunately, unfortunately, but it is going to come. Satyam, mithya, everything. So that understanding, again it has been defined, what is mithya, what is satyam, etc. Then third thing, immediately they have to tell about Atma, because Satyam Mithya, once you understand, then Atma and Anatma, etc., self, non-self, self is real, non-self is unreal, etc., etc. That also has to be told, and therefore definition of Atma will be the third thing. Don't think it is in sequence, I am just narrating the subject matter. So, and once the nature of Atma has been described, you will find that there is a confusion. In as much as what they declare about Atma or the self, I don't find I am. Right? Self means I. If I don't find that is I am, and therefore creates a confusion. When there are 2 points of view for the same thing, it's a confusion. It's a confusion. And therefore my judgment about myself is just opposite to what scriptures say, what Tattva Bodha says. So the self also, the definition of self has been given as a Satchidananda, etc. Shariratraya vilakshanam panchakosha atitah avasthatraya vivek avasthatraya rahitah, etc., etc. Satchidananda sarupah atma, like that it has been described. And the thing is Sharitratraya vilakshanaha. So Atma is not a gross body, Atma is not a subtle body, Atma is not this causal body. Of course, by saying that each thing will be defined. What is gross body? What is subtle body? What is causal body? And then it will say, see, this is how Atma is not any of the bodies. That itself the confusion arises, because I consider this body as a self already. And therefore, it creates confusion. It will resolve the confusion also. Shastra's job is to create a confusion and to resolve the confusion. Really. Shastra's job. And Shastra may not directly do, but the Acharyas definitely do. Acharyas, including Bhashyakara's job is, in fact, the lakshanam of a Bhashyam is this, that it has to create some Purvapaksha, some opponent. So it is not that he has met in his short life lots of opponents. I used to think that way, that how come he met so many opponents? Then I thought he creates one opponent by which he wants to create a doubt, and thereby he wants to resolve. And that's how the clarity of knowledge comes in. So this is, so different views about myself is there, judgments are there, and the Shastra judgment is one, create a confusion. But then what Shastra does is, it provides you certain models. So Shariratraya Vilakshanam is a model. It's a model. How you know yourself to be free from these 3 bodies. So that's one model. It's called Prakriya. In Shastra we call as a Prakriya. In English it is called model. So those models are models. It is just for understanding the self in reality. or to arrive at the truth of the reality. This is just a model. You should not think that exactly this is how it is happening or something. It's just a model to make you understand, because you have a confusion regarding the self. So to avoid the confusion, to make you free from the confusion, definitely Shastra is to provide some method, model, by which you can become free. So one is a Shariratraya Viveka. Second one is a Panchakosha Atita. Now Kosha comes and Panchakosha, and there they describe. First they give the name, Annamaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha. Then what is Annamaya Kosha? So we'll define. Then Manomaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha, everything has been defined. And then lastly it will say, Atma is not any of these koshas. This is another model. To arrive at the Atma, Panchakosha Vilakshana is another model. First model I said, Shariratraya Vilakshanam. Second is a Panchakosha Atitaha, means it's different from all these Panchakoshas. And the third model they give is Avasthatraya Sakshi. A Shastra's job is to analyze your own experience. That's all. This is all they do. They never create any new experience. Otherwise Vedanta becomes obsolete. Because I say that I will not have this kind of experience, that I don't believe what you are saying about experience. But what I am experiencing, Shastra has to provide a proper analysis. Just like a science gives you a knowledge about what you experience. Like sunrise, sunset, you definitely experience. Blue sky, you experience. Blue ocean, you experience. Twinkle star, you experience. But then everyone is experiencing, so everyone is not enlightened. So experience doesn't teach anything. But one who has gone to science definitely knows what is sunrise. So just as the science analyzes our own experiences and gives you the knowledge about what you experience, same way Shastra also analyzes our own experiences. So like Avasthatraya, Avastha means it is a Jagrata Avastha, Swapna Avastha, Sushupti Avastha, waking state, dream state, and then deep sleep state. All the states are there. It's a matter of experience for everyone. But that experience has not taught anything to me till today, because I am experiencing every day. Right now I am in waking state. I am experiencing deep sleep state more often than not, even during day. So what I am saying is, it's a matter of experience. But unless you come to this science, that's they call metaphysics and meta science and whatever it may be, let them give anything. But once you come to this, you know. That's all. So you know about your experiences, the truth of experiences, and that will make a person enlightened. So, so these three models are there: Shariratraya Vilakshanam, Panchakosha Atitaha, and then Avasthatraya Sakshi, etc. And by saying this is not a definition, really speaking. It is free from, or it is different from these three bodies. It is distinct from these Panchakoshas. It is a witness of these three states of experiencing. Well, what is Atma? It is not a definition. They have to tell what is also. What it is different from, it is not an answer. What it is, that also has to be told. And therefore, it has been told in the definition of Atma, lastly, it is Satchidananda. And then we have to discover what is Satchidananda also. Anyway, so this is about Atma. That is also topic there. And in the process, definitely, when they say it is distinct from these three states, distinct from Panchakosha, distinct from these three bodies, by saying that, definitely that is non-self, this is self, right? Satchidananda, this is self, this all has been described. And then Ishvara has been introduced. Because now they have to talk about this great equation. That's the purport of the entire Shastra. Mahavakya they call. Because Vakya means a statement. Mahavakya. It's a great statement. But instead of great statement, we say great equation. Because something is equated there. Therefore, what is equated? This individual is equated with the Ishvara. So what is Ishvara? Then it has been described. That he is the one who creates the entire world. Oh, then how does he create? The whole process of creation. This is how it goes. This is the whole process of creation, Pancha Mahabhutas and through the Maya and everything. So Maya will also come there. When the creation comes, Maya will come. Anyway, so therefore, because as such Paramatma could not be able to create, and therefore why he create and how he create and etc. etc. lots of problems. So then our solution, our shock absorber for Vedanti is a very good shock absorber. It's Maya. But it is still, even though it is inexplicable, but still it can be understood. It can be experienced in some form, which I will tell you later. Maya is a matter of experience, not in a Maya form, but the effects of Maya you definitely experience. And therefore Maya is there, that's for sure. Anyway, so by saying Maya, no Acharya of a Vedanta escapes. No one escapes. Neither Bhagavan has escaped in the Bhagavad Gita by saying, Gunatraya Vibhaga, etc. he told. So then Gunatraya Vibhaga means three gunas are just a Maya, Trigunatmika, Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. Anyway, so what I am saying is, so this Maya also will come into the picture because Ishvara as such is not a creator in reality, but he becomes a creator through Maya, etc. And then how the creation, 5 elements, and how the grossification, subtle elements, all these aspects will be there. Then who is Jiva? Because we have to equate Jiva and Ishvara. That's the equation. So independently Ishvara has been told. And he is omniscient. Definitely if the creation is there, by looking at anything in the creation, one can understand that the creator must be omniscient. Because a single thing cannot be analyzed in totality in one life by anybody. Or even in many lives by one body. In many lives also human being can understand. Therefore the creator must have all knowledge. If a single thing in a creation you are not able to understand in totality, then it has so much potential of knowledge in that. Well, then the creator must be omniscient, etc. Omnipotent also, because the way he has created all these so big objects and all they are moving around here and there, without accident. I mean, it's just an amazing phenomena. So he must be omnipotent, he must be a ruler because he has made all the rules. Everything runs by the rule. Everything runs by the rule. Therefore, you can even, you can judge after exactly 100 years, when will be the sunrise. That shows the sun goes from east to west, so-called, by rule. Then who created rule? Because when the rule is there and intelligently functioning, everything, and although are as though functioning under some kind of a rulership, well, the ruler must be there, Ishvara. That's how. And he must be independent, etc. If he has to ask somebody whether I create or not, then there he is no more Ishvara, etc., etc. So Ishvara is there. Then Jiva. Why I describe Ishvara? Because that equation cannot be made. That just is, it's very difficult. Jiva is something which is totally dependent, helpless, all the time seeking, right? All the time seeking. One thing or the other. And he is the one who provides everything what you desire. So, and he is, this person knows little. His power is little. Everything little. Jiva means everything little. And he is in total. And they say, Tattvamasi. Tat means that, Ishvara, Tvam means you, the individual Jiva, both are one. Abba, how can it be one? So then we say, there are methods of making them one. There are methods, yeah. According to the context, the same word carries a different meaning. So one is called a direct meaning of a word. One is called an implied meaning of the word. And that is not something in the Shastra, that is in the transaction. It's in the transaction. Like when you say, when one mother says, I made idli today. I made idli. Where there in this context, she's in the home. In this context of the home and talking to a family, the idli has one meaning. That's round one wala. That idli. But when you go to restaurant and give an order to that attendant or that give me 2 idlis, because there are 2 people. 2 idlis, not give me. Just say 2 idlis. They say this much. 2 idlis. Word is same, but he doesn't bring just 2 idli in hand, right? He knows something more. So idli word carries a different meaning. He comes with a chutney, he comes with a sambar, and he comes with the plate, which you have not told, that bring the plate, bring the sambar, bring the chutney and idli. No. You just say idli. This is implied meaning. Word is same, but in the context, meaning would be different. And therefore, same way here, the direct meaning of a individual or a jiva is this, a limited being who is subject to birth and death, who is subject to punyam, papam, etc., who is having very less knowledge, less power. Yeah, that's a direct meaning. And Ishvara also carries the direct meaning, like he is a Sarvashaktiman, he is omnipotent, omniscient, he is a ruler, he is independent, etc., etc. He is a creator of the universe. Well, that's a direct meaning. But in a certain context, you have to drop both these opposite attributes pertaining to both of them, and you will come to a implied meaning of the same word called Jiva and Ishvara. And that's through the implied meaning, they become one. Jiva is essentially this consciousness. Ishvara also is essentially consciousness. There is a non-duality between the two, and that non-duality is revealed in this Mahavakya also. So, and the person who knows this, that I and the Ishvara essentially is one, or I, Ishvara and Jagat, world, are essentially one, well, then he is free. Because he knows himself as a non-dual. Non-dual means there is nothing other than him, right? Duality means what? I am one, you are another. When you count second, there is a duality. If you can't count second, then there is non-duality. If it is non-duality, means you are full and complete, because you are limitless, because you can't count second, therefore you are everything, right? You are everything. So in his mathematics, arithmetic rather, is always there is a 1. 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1, not 10. 1. Could you follow? 1 plus 1 plus 1 is 10. Just like for physicists, 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1, 106, 108. What is that 108, Saviji? In periodic table there used to be elements, We used to study in physics, periodic table, elements. The physicists know you and me count 108. He also may count along with you 108. And he also sees that there are, the copper is different from the gold, and copper is different from the mercury, and mercury is different from this something else. He also counts. But in his understanding, there is one. Because he knows all this matter is nothing but a manifestation of energy. Energy and matter, they are just, they are interconvertible. That's how E is equal to mc square. What I'm saying is, in non-duality is there in physicist. Even though perceptually there is a duality. Perceptually there is a duality. He also has a ring. Suppose he's going to marry, then definitely if she gives a ring, then he will not say, "This is you. Why are you giving me energy?" or something like that. He says it is gold, and he wears it where it has to be wear. It has to be. So that is how. This is not something. This is a non-duality in spite of duality. Non-duality is not opposed to duality, which I am going to now talk about it. Our today's topic is non-duality. And it seems that the non-duality is presented as a goal of Shastra, inasmuch as it reveals the identity between everything, Jeev, Jagat and Ishvara, through the equation. And so non-duality, I am knowing myself as a non-dual or a limitless, or freedom from all limitations or unwanted things, seems to be the moksha, the freedom. That is how it has been told. And such person who knows this, well, he need not have to take birth again. So Videhi Mukti, it is called. Once the body falls, he will not have to take another birth, etc. That also has been described. So Jnanam has two phalam. This Atma Jnanam, knowledge, has two phalam, two results. One is life during, while he is living, he is free, because he knows himself as totally free. And also, once his body falls, he will not have to born again. So these two has been described. This is how the whole content of this one is about Tattva Bodha, I have told you. Now we'll discuss something about non-duality. the significance of non-duality we'll have to see. See, we have basically a life of a seeking. And nobody loves duality or division. Please follow me. Nobody loves this duality or division. Any division, even at the psychological level, definitely creates a conflict. Like I tell you, you are a seeker or a desirer and the desired object. The division, duality, is there. You don't want that. By fulfilling the desire, you want to be one with the desired object. You don't want a division between a desirer, that is you, and the desired object. So long as the desire is there, you are uncomfortable. Once the desire is dropped, the desire is no more remained, and desirer and desired object, seeker and the sought becomes one. That's a gain everyone wants in their life. And unless the desirable sought or object I get, I cannot be contented. So first of all, the seeking itself indicates that the sought is away from me, right? Seeking itself indicates the sought is away from me. If sought is already with me, where is the question of seeking something? And therefore it is away from me. And then seeking goes on unless, I gain what is sought. And in the process of seeking, I'm in a particular desired object, I apprehend also sometime, a possibility of not getting also. It happens. And therefore it creates a fear also. Till you get a desired object or a sought, you will have a conflict. You are not contented. Secondly, it creates a fear also in you because there is a possibility that you may not get also. And the third thing is, if there are more contenders for the same thing, let us say, then more fear. If a single object is there, which is sought by you and by me, definitely you will also have a fear, and I will also have fear till I gain it. I may not gain, because if you gain it, I won't gain it. And therefore, this a life of seeking is a life of strifes, life of fear, life of conflicts. And once the desire is gained, whatever may be the end, small or big, for time being the seeker and sought, please understand this, for a time being the seeker and sought, resolves into the gain of the sought. And then again, after some time, again a new seeking, the new desire arises, and again you seek varieties of the objects. So this is how, and also we have experienced that when a seeker meets with the sought, then there is a joy also, right? There is a joy also. So when seeker-sought division, we'll derive this much, when the seeker-sought division, seeker-sought duality resolves, when there is a non-duality, so-called experiential non-duality, there is a joy. So we are now slowly evolving into a concept that non-duality and joy, non-duality and fullness goes together, looks like experientially. So division, so far as, or this duality of seeker-sought, I can't accept happily. Because when they resolve and if you get a joy, it shows that when the division was there, the duality was there, you were not happy. You wanted to, you wanted to fill up that division or a duality into some non-dual experience, an experience of a joy. Now, like that we keep on, seeking one thing or the other, and we gain one thing, and then for a time being we enjoy, we have a joy, experience of a joy, then we seek another thing, then we gain it, then for a time being we get relieved, again we seek, like that it continues. This is our life. And for a time being we get a joy when they fuse, seeker-sought becomes fused into one thing. The whole life has become a process of is a sequence of seeking. And in that also, what the sought object is there, that also keep on changing. Desired object also keep on changing. And today what you desire, tomorrow you may not desire, you become indifferent, or it may be possible that tomorrow you may hate it also. Not you don't want anything. So you don't want any more. Therefore, a desired objects keep on changing. Please understand this. Desire itself keeps changing, definitely. When desire gets fulfilled of a particular object, it goes, now new desire has started. So desire keeps changing. Desired objects keeps changing. Desirer never changes. In these three, in this triad, desirer never changes. Other two keeps changing. This is how our life is. And this desirer has been very well, equated with, through an imagery of a Carnatic musician. If you may be knowing, Puja Swami used to tell this, that, like a musician and this desirer are same. Well, how they are same? And, in Indian music, they have a tanpura in the backside, and they keep on just playing a particular pitch. And that he or she sets a certain pitch for the musician vocalist to sing a certain different kinds of melodies or ragas. And that remains constant. And afterwards what happens is this Shruti is never heard. When the musical concert is going on, this Shruti is never heard. What is going on in the Tanpura is never heard. Only what you hear is this raga, which has been rendered by the musician. And when he renders a particular raga and reaches to the octave or reaches to the climax, he also becomes very happy, and the audience also becomes very happy, and everyone claps, and and there is, for a time being, there is a silence, there is a joy. In that silence or a joy, you hear that Tanpura. The Tanpura is heard now. And as per that pitch, again this musician or vocalist starts a new raga. And then he again reaches an octave, goes to the state of joy. And then again, he listens again that pitch or the Shruti. Then again third raga, the fourth raga. This keeps on going. This is how, even in our case also, it is the same thing. Raga in music it has a different meaning. Raga actually has a meaning called desire. Raga means a desire or a seeking. And same way this person, so life is a musical concert and I am the musician. And in me also there is a Shruti constantly going on. It sets a pitch for me also. What's that Shruti? I want is a Shruti, which keeps going all the time. And listening to that, I start one raga, one desire. What I desire is different, but there is a desire in me, or I am desirer that way. So it keeps. Then I try to fulfill that raga or the desire. Once I meet with the desired objects, for a time being there is a joy, and then I listen to Shruti which is inside. I want, and then new raga, and the new desire is born. That is how all the time I have a number of desires, number of ragas, number of melodies in my life. As a musician I play, but the basic Shruti that I want never goes. The desirer never goes. The desirer never goes. Desires keep changing, ragas keep changing, desired objects keeps changing, but this never goes. And desires are just opposite in nature also. What I desire to sell, you desire to buy. That's how you have a garage sale here. And the garage sale, I like this word, garage sale. And it's just opposite. It's very amazing that what I want to buy, you want to sell. And when you are able to sell to me, you tell thanks to your stars. And when I buy the same thing, I also tell that thanks to the stars which are favorable to me, etc. It's very amazing. But so the desires are just opposite in nature. But you and me both are desirer. You want to sell, but you want is all the time there. I want to buy, I want here also is all the time. So this Shruti is there in all the people. This Shruti, particular Shruti, I want, etc. That Shruti is all the time there. And that is the Shruti creates this uneasiness in this musician. That's how he keeps on desiring varieties of the things and inviting lots of strifes and fear and conflicts in the life. And that is why this musician who has this Shruti wants to be little different from this desirer. He wants to get rid of, really, this is another one, he wants to get rid of the very desirer itself. He wants to, keep silent this Shruti. I want that Shruti. He wants to make it silent. And that's how he feels that really it's a situation, very pitiable situation for the person. He feels that by fulfilling this desire itself will go away. It goes, definitely goes, in a moment of joy. When desirer and desired object becomes one, the division or duality is not there. When he gets the joy, he finds that easiness, he finds the comfort, he finds the acceptability, he finds the freedom from limitation also. But it doesn't remain long, because the Shruti keeps telling him, I want. That is how it goes on. And therefore, the sense of dissatisfaction, which seems to be the very basis of all my strives and struggles and fear and whatnot. So everyone is basically a seeking. Even a Swami also is a seeking. A Swami is seeking something else by giving up the wealth. Another one seeks the same wealth by, taking it. I mean, it's all ultimately is a process of seeking, and life is all the time, it's a sequence of seeking. Anyway, our scriptures have singled out this particular problem. He says you want to become free from the very desire itself, or you don't want any title of a desirer in you, because that creates uneasiness in you, it creates a discomfort in you, then I should tell you something about, and it tells what? See, there are for now let's go to all the living beings. We have to separate out this human being. This is a problem of a human being. Because to be a musician or to have a Shruti is a problem of a human being. Not everyone has this kind of a Shruti in themselves. Anyway, so what happens is there are two types of problem. One is a problem of a survival and or a desire of a survival, let's say. A desire of a survival and desire of a propagation. That everyone has in common. Other living beings and the human being. Everyone has this in common. What common? That they also want to survive. We also want to survive. How do they survive? They survive through the food and clothing, etc. Or not clothing, the food and the shelter. And we also survive through food, clothing and shelter, etc. And not only that, they don't have any government, police, etc. for their survival. But we have extra all these things. Because we are refined people. So far as our securities are concerned, the means of getting securities are also very refined. And so we have everything, all this. But the basic desire of a survival and this and propagation, both are there. Both urges are there, which are common. We share with the other living beings. Then, and the second problem which I'm going to talk about is not a problem of an animal or any living being. Why? Because once they get a food or once they have some shelter and they propagate, they create their own species, then they seem to be that they have fulfilled the life, other living beings. Whereas the human being, after if you give him a food and shelter and clothing and everything, and then suppose he has a good children which are good, still he has another question. What will I do next? That problem is there. So, something is there inside which tells him that creates a discomfort in himself or herself, which puts in this kind of a question that what shall I do next? And since the animals have a programming, so once they get food, shelter and the propagation, etc., they have this kind of a programming, they feel, they have a sense of a fulfillment where human being does not have this. Why this second problem is there? In human being, actually, there is something which makes him very different from other living beings. You see, it is the most evolved mind of a human being. Because of the most evolved mind, he has this problem. Problem of what to do next. Problem of boredom, etc. That's boredom. problem of some kind of a discomfort. If it is a comfortable, he will not ask this kind of question. If there is a discomfort, he will ask this kind of question, what shall I do next? Because without doing something, he feels uncomfortable. So he's experiencing such kind of a discomfort within himself. That's due to most evolved mind a human being has. The plant kingdom has a very rudimentary mind. And animals have also a little more evolved compared to this plant kingdom. But human being has most evolved mind. And what is that most evolved mind? Most evolved mind means he is fully conscious of himself. He is fully conscious of his urges, his limitations, and he also knows how to fulfill the urges from the world. That also he knows. He knows the world also which can fulfill his urge, his desire. He knows himself fully what kind of desire he has, and he knows the means also to employ in getting those objects. I mean, totally he is self-conscious. He has a freedom also to employ varieties of the means in order to get desired objects, and he is an independent agent of action that way because I have freedom. And this mind, most evolved mind, he has self-consciousness, he has, because of which he has judgments about himself. That's the problem. Freedom is a beautiful thing, but the self-judgment is a killing thing. Other living beings have a little judgment about themselves in order to propagate the species. So they know that what kind of, he or she is a monkey. I mean the other one is a, so they know that much, little bit. A simple awareness they have just in order to propagate. But human being is fully aware of himself, and therefore he has a varieties of self-judgments because of a fully self-conscious. So, and that is how, but one thing is common in all his self-judgment is that I am lacking something, I am a wanting being, I am an incomplete being, I am a limited being. This is a Shruti goes on all the time in all his self-judgment. That's the second problem. And therefore, as a limit, and if he sees himself as a limited being or wanting being, naturally he cannot stand himself or herself, and he desired to be different from this wanting being. And so he wants to get freedom from these limitations. He wants to get freedom from the discomfort, freedom from dissatisfaction, and then when he gains it in a moment of joy, by acquiring a desired object or by some other means also, I'm going to tell, if he acquires that kind of he becomes free from the limitations, he becomes free from discomfort in a momentarily also, he is acceptable to himself. As a wanting being, he is not acceptable to himself. So, therefore, you will always see when a man seeks a certain recognition, outside, naturally he wants recognition from himself because he has a very self-demeaning opinion about himself, and he wants to come out of it. But he could not come out himself, and therefore he seeks recognition outside. When that person says, you are very comfortable, you are very good, you don't have this, you have this, and therefore I feel that I'm really having this thing. And then when others give you recognition, you become comfortable with yourself, you become acceptable to yourself. And that's how, they say, Puja Swamiji used to tell us that when somebody expresses a love towards somebody, he always wonders in disbelief. I mean that he never accepts, because he is quite sure that he is never an object of a love of somebody. Therefore, Puja Swamiji used to tell that, in a married life, you must have heard several times, in a married life also, that after 20 years of marriage, one of the member or the partner will ask to the other that, do you really love me or not? Because it shows that there is a doubt. Because I cannot be an object of a love for somebody. Such a self-demeaning opinion about myself is there. And I cannot accept it. So when somebody shows a love, I have a surprise that I can't be an object of a love, and therefore I ask these kind of questions. Anyway, so the self-condemnation, in other words, will continue as long as I find myself as a wanting being. And this is a human problem, and that is the basic human problem. Basic human problem. Perhaps this is a problem from the birth. You are a wanting being, you are a limited being, is a problem of an American, it's a problem of a Chinese, it's a problem of an Indian, everyone. Otherwise, person would not strive. If you see the struggle of a human being, it is just for this purpose. He wants to get rid of the limitations which he faces, centered on the self. Those limitations he wants to get rid of. That's how he has a varieties of the desires. He wants to fulfill those desires, and when he gets that desired object, definitely he feels for a time being a non-dual experience of a seeker-sought division or duality resolves, and he finds himself a acceptable person in a moment of joy. This is the criteria. Now, if it is a natural problem, of a problem of a human being from the birth, if it is not a cultivated problem, there should be a solution. There should be a solution. That's how the Vedanta proposes. Vedanta promises, do I help you or may I help you in this by this premise? I mean, the thing is, if you have a something problem which is very natural or desire which is natural, there should be a solution. There should be a solution. Like hunger is there, then there is a solution. Thirst is there, there is a solution. Well, this is also natural desire to be free from limitations, to be free from the wanting self. If you have that, to be free from the lack within which you face, centered on the self, you want to be free, very genuine desire a person has, then there should be a solution. And who provides the solution? Shastra provides. That I have to cover in the next, this one. But before that, but there is, even in between also, we try to solve this problem in our own way. And that itself makes an opening that we may become free permanently by this particular kind of a problem. So, now and then when I see that in a certain situation myself as a happy being, acceptable being, freedom from discomfort, etc., and in spite of the limitations you have, in spite of the limitations you have, if you can become free from the limitations in certain moments of joy, opens up the possibility. And in spite of limitations, what kind of limitations I have? All physical limitations. Like what bird can do, you can't do. Bird flies here and there. I also feel sometimes when I walk, I feel that like a bird, if I have, then I can get a very nice overview. Swamis always have this kind of a fancies, which is not going to be fulfilled. But so, and a dog has a certain sense which, Swamiji, do you feel a very good aroma on this particular dish we have made? I never feel. Then I feel I should have a nose of a dog, which could even sense a little bit. No, so physical limitation. I mean, all kinds of, and other animals also have a different kind of capacities which human being has a very less, in terms of running and, infinite. So when you look at those creatures, you find yourself limited, definitely, physically limited. Psychologically, that is emotionally, one is limited, means I am not all the time a polite human being. I want to be, of course, but I am not a polite human being. At times I become cruel, and I don't like, but I become cruel. I become, all the time I should have some sympathy and empathy and all that, but there are good words in my directory. All this, hardly it comes in on the surface. So emotionally I feel limitations also. Physically I feel limitations, emotionally I feel limitations. Sometimes I love somebody, sometimes I hate somebody, like that. Intellectually I feel very much limited. Intellectual accomplishments I have definitely, but they are limited. More I know, more I come to know what I have yet to know. That is Pujya Swamiji's words. More I know, more I come to know what I have yet to know. Means you will always find limited being. When you reach to the heights of intellectual accomplishment, always person, when he reaches to the height, he becomes, he bends more. That because it becomes heavy. Because of the knowledge, it becomes heavy, so he bends more. One who has empty, he remains like this all the time. So the people who are really knowledgeable, very, very polite and humble. There are people. Even they are spiritually evolved or not, that's not a criteria. But they know what they don't know. That's for sure. They know. We feel that even by knowing this much, we know a lot. And therefore, so this is intellectually I am a limited being in spite of all these limitations. In spite of all these limitations, I might find myself an acceptable person, happy person, freedom from limitations in certain moments. What are those moments? Either you fulfill a desire and desire object and you, desirer, becomes one. Well, that's there. Or else, in spite of your not fulfilled desires, but you just come across something which makes you a happy person. All your list of desires are intact. Nothing is fulfilled. Yet, like I tell you, in Philadelphia airport, when I was sitting for the next flight to go, right next to me, one mother came with a small child. And the child it was looking at me and keep smiling. And I had another problem of how to talk in the evening, etc. So I was a seeker at that time. When I look at that child, and I became so happy. All my seeking and seeker, everything just resolved. It's not that I have yet taken a lecture and it has gone successfully. Nothing. It will be in the evening. I was sitting in the morning. Nothing of my desire has fulfilled yet. Yet I find myself in a certain moment, an acceptable person, a happy person, comfortable person, right? A satisfied person. Time being, itself opens that perhaps this limitation may not be intrinsic to the self. If anything which is intrinsic to the self can never be devoid of it. Like heat is an intrinsic nature of the fire, then heat and fire you cannot separate. Never. If heat is not there, fire is not there. So at any moment, and any place, under any condition, if something you cannot separate from one thing, that must be the nature of the thing. So heat is like you cannot make sugar. You cannot make totally the sugar which is free from the sweetness, right? If you say that there is no sweetness, Swamiji, in the sugar, I say there is no sugar. But there are moments, or there is some place or at a particular moment, if I can become free from, in spite of so-called limitations, that shows perhaps these limitations are not the intrinsic attribute of myself. Means I may not be a limited being by nature. It may be due to some reason that I am feeling limitation. Well, that's a matter of investigation. But it opens up a possibility that I may be free from I may be free from this discomfort in a certain moments of joy, and that becomes a standard in my life. That's my height. That is my height. Such moments of joy, such moments of comfortability, such moments of satisfaction, such moments of freedom from uneasiness, those moments become a criteria. It has become a standard in my life, and in other moments, because it's just a momentum. It's a momentous and therefore it goes. In other moments, I strive to become the same person, right? So, basically, this is what I want to say. In the moment of joy, when there is no division, a seeker sought division, seers in division, as if myself and the child has become one. I will tell you another experience also. I have never heard a bird called bluebird. That word itself was not known to me, really speaking. And in Detroit it happened so, where I stayed in the host place where they had a bird feeder, beautiful bird feeder, and several birds come there. And our host told me in the morning itself that Swamiji, please sit here in the dining table. On the dining table, I will show you some of the birds. And when this bluebird came up, and he showed me this is bluebird, and my mouth has just become open, looking at the color and everything. Now, what desire I was having about a bluebird, I was not knowing the name itself. Desire arises when you know something. Desire never arises about an unknown object. Desire always arises about a known object. So I never know that such a bird is there. Then still when I see it, I become as though free from all limitations. I and what I see and seen as though become one. As though. It's not right. Perceptually there are two things. But perhaps psychologically, internally, we have become one. So what I'm saying is non-duality is something in spite of duality. Non-duality is something which you have already experienced. That is your height. And that's how Shastra says, what is your height? I will put you on their height. How? We'll see that. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om.